Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you have upheld the point of order, may I suggest that to expunge that expression from the records? The point of order has been upheld, so he did not speak it. It should go out of our record.
It's Chief Falai, Olufalai. All right, no, please. Let's just move on. Let's learn to take hints. One doesn't need to spell things out. In upholding the point of order, it's obvious that the House finds what has been said offensive. So let's just move on. If it is repeated, then one will know what else to say. Thank you. Chief Asara A. Asara, not here. His Royal Highness Alhaji Abdullah Ibn Muhammad.
My Lord, the Chairman, the Deputy Chairman, distinguished delegates. As the Deputy Chairman said, my names are Alhaji Abdullah Ibn Muhammad Askira, the Emir of Askira. I'm also a lawyer. My Lord, without being repetitive, I have to align myself with the previous speakers as regards Mr. President. It captures our hopes and dreams if we do things right. If we don't do it right, we to bring into reality our fears and God forbid. My Lord, the document was fashioned to use Mr. President's speech as a roadmap to get where we want to go. To discuss those documents during sittings, we should come out of our comfort zone. That's to say, we should try as much as possible to downplay the issue of religion. We should try as much as possible to downplay the issue of states. We should try as much as possible to having said that, Mr. Chairman, Nigeria is a blessed country where we have all it takes to develop country, to take it to the next level. Documents, excellent documents have been produced in this country, going back to independence period up to 1979. As far as I'm concerned, the Constitution of is the best constitution that we ever had in this country. But it has allayed all the fears of the minorities and what. But unfortunately, the problem we have in this country is not the Constitution. It's the implementation of the Constitution. We don't follow the spirit of the Constitution. At every point in time, we try to subvert the Constitution. And that's why I have the challenges we have today. Constitutions are living documents. And we don't need to wait for a very long time for us to gather in this kind of gathering to amend it. As the issues come, we should look at them and amend them and go forward. If we are taking that step, all these problems we're having in this country wouldn't have been here today with us. The second issue I'd like to talk about is the abdication of responsibility of all tiers of government. These are facts. Right from independence to date, our leaders, both at the federal, at the states, and the local government, sorry to say, they've abdicated their responsibility. The basic things of life, this country doesn't have. Even Abuja here, most homes don't have water. Even Abuja here, we don't have electricity. This is the federal capital of Nigeria, and we are talking that we are the greatest country in the West Africa. Go back to our villages. The villages we had before independence, if you take the aerial view, there's no difference with the villages we have today. There is no government presence anywhere. And I think we have to change that attitude. Because the larger majority of our people live in the villages, over 60 or 70%. And they drive this country through labor, through agri and everything. Everything tends to be concentrated at the state capitals and the federal capital. And I think we should change this attitude. The issue we have is attitude. Once we have the right attitude, we get everything right. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness. Mrs. Dinatu Asibi Assani.
Mr. Chairman, sir, my name's Comrade Dinatu Asibi Assani. I'm representing Labour. So much have been said about the beauty of the address made by the President. There is one thing that captured my attention as I was going through the address. And that statement has been mentioned, or the word has been mentioned up to 6 times in the address. And I believe that the President was so concerned about that word, and that word is patriotism and compatriot. It shows that the President wants us to have the heart to do what we are supposed to do in this country, to make sure that the 160 million in which we are representing here get the best of what we are here to do. But being patriotic and being a compatriot, we have to look at 2 issues. One of the issues is that of corruption. I know it has been said here. We cannot achieve what Mr. President has said or has mentioned in this address without us fighting corruption. You cannot be a patriot. You cannot be a compatriot if you don't fight corruption, because it has eaten deep in the veins of the Nigerians. And we have to make sure that we flush it out. Number 2, we talk of, I want to observe this issue of education. Education is the bedrock of development in this country. And whether we like it or not, we cannot achieve what we want to achieve if we are not educated. Go to our schools. Our system in the schools has collapsed. I have to say that. You go to secondary schools, you go to primary schools, we have what we call miracle centers now. And those miracle centers, exams are not written, teaching doesn't go on. At the end of it, students come out with beautiful results. It's very, very sad. And we have to address this issue. Another one is we talk of youth unemployment. It's a very, very serious issue, but we should cast our minds back to Ghana. When Ghana was in Nigeria, in fact, we had to send them away because Nigeria was beautiful and all the African countries were ready and rushing to come and stay here. By the time we sent Ghana with their Ghana must go, this time, they went, used whatever that was there, and empowered their youth. This time around, you go to the schools, you discover that we had a system we call 63-4. It was assumed that at the end of the 3 years in secondary school, a child, whether he doesn't want to to go into the university, can still have a job to do. Where are those institutions? They are not functional. In Ghana now, every Ghanaian is a potential worker, because when we talk of hairdressing, we talk of mechanics and all the like trades. You'll find that in Ghana. But in Nigeria, we have to look inward and see what to do to empower our youth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Comrade. His Excellency Obong Victor Atta, next speaker.
My name is Obong Victor Atta. I come here from the Forum of Former Governors. I'll go right away, Mr. Chairman, sir, to reading from page 9 of the President's speech. He says, "This coming together under one roof to confer and build a fresh national consensus for the amicable resolution of issues that still cause friction amongst our people must be seen as an essential part of the process of building a more united, stronger, and progressive nation." The word I want to focus on there is friction. And at page 19, he says, "We must seize this opportunity to cement the cleavages and fault lines that separate us." Here, the expressions are cleavages and fault lines. But he goes on to conclude that sentence by saying, we must relaunch our country. Permit me, sir, to say that these cleavages are real and they truly exist, but they are essentially man-made. And I say this because we have imprisoned ourselves in a north-south device, a north-south prison. So instead of practicing patriotism, we practice brinkmanship. We want to see how one will win over the other. And this is what is causing the friction. So what do? My suggestion, so before I even put forward my suggestion, I will recall what Colonel Ahmadu Ali said. These differences and disparities have been there. But have we asked ourselves if these disparities are not the root cause of the frictions we are having? What I want to suggest is that it may be extremely difficult to remove these disparities, but we certainly can fashion the type of government that makes them irrelevant and immaterial. And if we can do that and make progress so that there is healthy competition among us, and this was alluded to by my colleague, Governor Alero, why can't we exploit something other than just oil? So that there'll be resources coming from here, resources coming from there. Sir, before you tell me it is time, I just want to say this, that Nigeria today needs both fiscal and physical adjustments. But if we should succeed in bringing together a government that we want, what about succession? We cannot fail to look at the issue of INEC and the sort of election results that we'll be getting in this country. Part of the big problem we have is that we cannot change our government willingly, freely, and by the will of the people. Thank you, sir.
I thank the last speaker, Chief Robert Audu.
My name is Chief Robert Audu. I come from a group of retired civil servants. Mr. Chairman, my lords, temporal and spiritual, esteemed delegates, the speech of the President, as we had it, was a product of good, deep research. And the flow of the President's speech made me believe that he had a personal touch to a greater part of that speech. He set the tone for what we are doing here, and I commend him. From his speech, he gave us a charge. Nigeria must remain one. So anything contrary is not part of our mandate. And we should stop blaming our leaders for our woes, because enough of the blame. We should now find solutions to these problems. The civil service from where I come has suffered a lot in this country. Former President Obasanjo said if the British found an alternative to the civil service, he would have keyed into it. We are talking of sending people into early retirement because we think that creates vacancies. It doesn't. The pension wage bill is mounting, and some states, they don't even pay gratuities anymore. They pay 100,000 a month out of gratuity, which is sending civil servants into great suffering. We should look at the civil service and strengthen it rather than weaken it. My interest here is in the non-contentious issues, because those ones we can easily reach agreement on them. One of those is education. Out of panic, the president identified Almajiri education as an imperative. I want to call it not Almajiri again, but out of school children. There are many and they are growing. We must address it. It's a countrywide problem. Only it's more in the north than in the south. When it comes to employment, unemployment, we cannot watch it grow. Professor Luko said that time will come when the number of unemployed will reach a level that they will invade the offices and chase out those who are working. So, and we are nearing that level. So, I think we need to do something quickly to address it. I have suggestions that I will pass to the committee that is working on that subject, because there are measures that we can take. Because Dr. Mbadiwe says abnormal situation requires abnormal treatment. We need an abnormal treatment to cope with these issues. I have been told that time is up, but I think some of the issues we are discussing will require an interim report, because we must not allow our report to fall into the dust being like others. So we will do an interim report for those things that are not contentious, that we can arrive at a consensus and get the president to start implementing them. We should also ask the National Assembly not to delay the budget, because since we started in 1999, budget has not been ready 3 months into the year, and nobody can implement a budget that is so late. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Adito Kumbo, Awolowo Dosunmu.
Mr. Chairman, esteemed colleagues, my name is Dr. Ola Tokumbo Awolowo Dosunmu. I represent the Southwest Zone. I'm an occupational health physician by profession. A wise man once said, he said, there are two primary choices in life. One is to accept things as they are. The other is to accept the responsibility to change things. Once again, Mr. President has given us the opportunity, and those of us in this room have accepted the responsibility to change things in Nigeria. Repeatedly in his agenda-setting speech, he referred to areas where things are not going well with Nigeria. And in some cases, he specifically mentioned those areas where Nigeria needs fixing. And so I am particularly gratified, I feel pleased, because my generation once again has the opportunity to redeem its place in history. Ours was a generation that stood the risk of going down in history as the one that inherited the best from its forebears, but was in danger or appeared determined to bequeath the worst, a Hobbesian existence to future generations, an existence in which life is nasty, brutish, and short. The incident at the National Stadium springs to mind once again. So we should grasp this opportunity with both hands and make sure that this conference succeeds, that we do not go away the way we came in here. You don't have to be a rocket scientist in Nigeria to realize that, yes, we have been on the brink before, but this brink is particularly treacherous, more treacherous than before. Mr. President referred in his speech to the consensus of Nigerians for the need for this conference. He also admonished us to bear in mind the wishes and the needs of Nigerians as we deliberate here. As an ordinary Nigerian myself, I have no particular interest in who is in office, but my interest in restructuring and political restructuring and the rest of it has to do with my own life. Nigerians want a better life, and that is why we're here. He mentioned South Korea. I should quickly say that in 1961, South Korea had a GDP of 72 when Nigeria had a GDP of $103.